Tonight, we're talking about money, not about mindset or budgeting, but when money stops being about numbers and starts being about safety and responsibility and how that lives in our body. I'm Amber, and I work with women around nervous system and connection. Here, we slow things way down. Welcome. Hello, hello. I say that in the beginning because the replays on YouTube have a bit of context when people click on them. So I started doing that in the beginning. Hello, Tara. Marielle, welcome in. Hello, hello. Thank you, lovely. Da 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 da. Oh yeah, that I didn't even do that yet. Or we'll do that also. Josh J, hey, lovely. How are you? Welcome in, welcome in. Let me get my stuff here. Welcome in, everybody. We'll get started in just a minute. I'm getting set up. I am good. I'm glad that you're good. Heather. How do I get rid of this? Okay, I think I got rid of it. Hi, lovely. Tonight we are talking about money, not about like budgeting or anything like that, not even about the numbers, but we're talking about the different ways that it lands in different nervous systems. Well, I'm glad that you came here. We are here. And I just want to remind people that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. And that we're just going to honor where we are in the moment. Oh, shoot. Is it me? Let me double check my internet. Okay, I think I'm on the right one. Okay, copy that. Yeah, we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about the reality of money. And sometimes there just isn't the money that we need right now. And we're going to honor that heaviness and that weight. And we're going to talk about not trusting ourselves around money and where that might come from. And just how we can be aware of what's happening to us, right? Even just saying the word money. Where does that land in your body? Where do you feel that? For me, I feel it, I don't know if I feel it in my chest first or my gut first. I would have to, money. It goes like into my chest and then to my gut. Anxious tummy, yeah. And we're going to talk about when safety comes first before connection, right? So some people, I don't want to say value, but they think first about money versus the connection. That comes from safety. And we're going to talk about vice versa and where it kind of comes from, right? Welcome back, Tara. We're going to talk about how growing up too fast plays a part in and around money. We're going to talk about wanting more money and removing some shame around that. And that also wanting more money can come from wanting a sense of safety and stability. And then we're going to talk about when safety with money and then connection also are pulling for both, and how both can live in the body at the same time, and how that can feel really confusing, especially as you age, I've found. Right, because the sense of security, right? Welcome in, everybody. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. And then after this, right at 5 p.m. Pacific, we are going to hop over to the Sacred Middle, where we slow things way down and we talk on a deeper, more personal level about these topics, and we get to share and things like that. So we have a group coaching session there. So you can grab your seat still. Yes, and fear. Can I keep up the pace working? Yeah. Right. And that reality, right? We want to honor the reality that we are in, but also not live in fear, right? So that can be really tricky. And guess what? Both can be true at the same time. And this is really what I want to talk about tonight. I feel like we have to pick either or, but so much about what we talk about here is allowing what we're feeling, right? And recognizing how that's affecting us. Are we going into a digital currency? Right. And so if we just take that, right, it sounds like we're talking about money. But this is kind of what I was talking about, that wait, what is... Oh, is that a question for me, Tara? Welcome in, Holly. What was I saying? Dang, I forgot what I was saying. It must not have been important. Okay, so what did you need from me, Tara? What did, oh, send the live to a text. So if you hit the share, that arrow at the bottom, there'll be a line underneath the people for your TikTok, and it'll say copy link, Telegram, Messenger, SMS. So if you're using Telegram or SMS. Thank you, Heather. Let me know if that works, Sarah. No, thank you for checking. Thank you, Heather. Oh, nope. Do you guys have any questions before we get started? Yay, it worked? Okay, awesome. We're always learning. Holly, welcome in, lovely. Okay, y'all, we have Holly and we have Tara, the Fire Beneath the Mask, and they are amazing. They're my mods, and they got your back, they got my back, so if I miss something, just throw it in there, and we will get to it. I think where I was going with that, just G, was that that right, the fear of are they going to change the currency is around how am I going to stay safe, right? How am I going to, will I be able to stay safe? Will I be able to provide for myself, right? Yeah. And that's really what I kind of just want to highlight tonight, is that when we talk about money, we're not even really talking about money. We're talking about what money has meant growing up in our body. And for so many, money equaled safety. If you had money, you were safe. And for a lot of people, that was true. There might not have been a lot of money, and there wasn't food or clothes or couldn't do things. And that affected our parents. Kendra, hello, lovely. Freedom. That's a huge one. And so that is real, right? Our bodies connected that freedom or safety, security, worth, connection meant around money. Money played a part in a lot of that, right? And so even just stopping to recognize that when we talk about money, when you go to look or avoid your bank account, right? I feel that in my chest. Who's ever been there that was like, nope, I'm not even going to check my bank account. I'm not going to check my finances because it's too much. Me. Put a 1 in the chat if that is you. You are not alone. Now we have some people that are probably on the flip side and are like spreadsheet analysis of finances. And you know what? Major kudos. And that too speaks of how money played a role. And something else I just want to say is that almost so many we have been programmed, for lack of better terms, that our worth is based on how much money that we have or make or can spend or save. And that plays a huge role, especially men. Yes. And I don't think any of our men are in here right yet, but yes. And I think what a big thing is that we didn't get when we were younger is that, yes, money plays a role, but also this plays a role. like this doesn't dictate everything, right? But when there was emphasis on how much money you had or didn't have, it really correlated with worth. I know for me growing up, Kmart kickers, my family did the best that they could with what they had, but it just always didn't feel enough compared to like the popular kids at school. So how much money we had as a child dictated who our friends were, or it could have, right? I definitely did for me. Probably saved me, to be honest, to be really honest, because I was not cool enough to be in the super popular group. A lot of those popular people now are really struggling, but I digress. My family was poor, only had friends of the same poverty level. And I remember struggling. Like, I was like kind of in the like, I knew the cool group, but I was not like part of it. So I was always trying to be that. That's a whole other about proving self, right? But that plays a part into our money, trying to prove that we are worthy, that we are whatever that means to us. We were the poor single. Is it Cassie or Cassie? In a wealthy family. Oh, and that's a whole different dynamic, right? Justy is I don't know, the judgment around, and there's so many different dynamics around that. I used my own birthday money for shoes because I thought I needed them to prove I was cool. You and me both, Kendra. You and me both. I remember, Mom, I love you if you're in here. I didn't see you come in yet, but I wanted a parka. So if you were an 80s kid, I don't know if parkas were cool where you were, but that was a thing when I was growing up, and I wanted a parka so bad. And I remember everybody had like Raiders and the Niners and all of that. And my mom is so sweet. They went and they got me one, but it was for like the Bulldogs or something off, like not a popular team. And I was so crushed. Okay, Cassie. I know. And like my mom was like, yeah, we got it, right? Oh, right, Kendra. So the parkas were where you were too. Okay. I grew up privileged and judged for it. And see, there's this whole other flip side. So we're going to talk about all the sides. We could talk about the struggles that, come with growing up around money, right? Even just in this conversation already, you guys, we haven't talked numbers at all. And look at how much around money lives in our body. Privilege shaped my nervous system to equate value with status, power, and staying protected. Exactly. 100%. Charlotte Hornets. Jordan, hi, lovely. We lost a lot growing up. And it's so tough because also a lot of what lives in our body about money was really what lived in our parents' or caretaker's body about money, because we only learned through them, right? And through our surroundings. But that's a whole other thing about school and our peers and everything. But most of us either wanted to, let's see. I think whatever side of the spectrum, we all aimed to subconsciously or consciously please our parents, make our parents okay, keep connection with them, stay in their presence, have them be proud of us. So that falls on both sides of that spectrum of how we may have done that. Some of us disappeared, some of us, stood out more. Some of us pretended like we didn't need, and some of us, got it all, right? Whichever side we needed to adapt to, that we clung on to survive and stay safe and protect ourselves, right? Welcome in, Mama. Does anybody have any questions or a specific thing that you want to talk about with money? And again, I just want to say that, you know what? As a child, as an adult, money does play a part. And I don't want to negate or bypass the reality that in the society that we live in, we do need money to survive, to eat, to stay clothed, to have a roof over our head, right? And so I just want to acknowledge that sometimes in this society, there isn't enough for what you need right now. And that is a huge weight. Huge weight. And I am not asking for anybody to bypass that. This is not about making that feeling go away or joying it away or whatever. It's about honoring the space that we're in. Right, Holly. And life hits, y'all. Life hits. You could have money one day and then no money the next day, right? And it could be ripped away from you. And that is a reality. And that is a huge weight on our body. And then we have that fear of it being taken away, or can be. Okay, Kendra, thanks for stopping by, lovely. Right now, I'm on disability and got my first check. That hit me. I think she went to work. I was gonna respond to her message. Always feeling the lack. Frosty said, always feeling the lack. And this can come from quite a few things, right? Z8, welcome in. Thank you for being here, you guys. Sometimes when we had to grow up too fast, right? It can affect how we handle money. No, okay. Okay. I got you, Kendra. Thank you. I was like, oh, she must have to go. Okay, so I'll get to that. So some of us who had to carry adult things before our bodies were ready or our brains were ready, responsibility came before support. And we had to, which also makes sense, right? So when we're trying to keep ourselves safe, most people had to plan for the future. And planning for the future isn't bad, right? None of these things are bad in themselves. We're just using this information to recognize what is happening to our bodies, right? And slowing it down of what, because money's everywhere. And that really stands out to me is when, the lack of and future of is keeping myself safe, security, right? And especially if we don't feel safe within ourselves or people, right? So we are always looking for ways to keep us safe. Our nervous system is trying to keep us safe, right? So if people aren't safe, if then what may have been consistent or predictable, we cling on to. So we cling on to things that are predictable. Now, even if we didn't have money, that is still predictable if that's how it's always been, right? And so we can cling on to that. That can even feel safe, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, you guys? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys are with me. Right, Holly. And that's a huge one, right? That's what a lot of people are just like, you know what? I'm not asking to have a mansion, in the Bahamas and have a yacht. Some of us are, and that's cool too. But we're like, we just want to be able to provide for our family. And that is a real struggle right now. There are so many struggling to just put food on the table, to just be able to put gas in their car. And that's a reality. And that, let's just slow down here. And if you are struggling with money today, if there isn't enough in your reality in this moment, what is the first time you remember not having enough money? What is the first time you felt lack of money that affected you? That moment that popped into your head is what comes up in your body. Okay, and it might not have anything to do with money. Here's the thing, y'all. Listen close if you hear nothing else tonight. When we're talking about a topic and a moment or a thought comes up into your head, even if it's not correlated to the direct topic, your body remembers how it felt in that moment. And that's why those moments are brought up, is how your body feels in that moment. Not that they are connected to the topic, but your body associates the feeling. Kind of makes me frustrated that we're not struggling yet still fearful others are living it. And this is too where there's so much going on, right? It's like, gotta be grateful. I am good, but I am still fearful of the future, and all of that can live and be true. We don't have to pick one. And that's also what I want to talk about tonight. Being hungry at age 4. Yeah. That's where your body goes. That's where your body goes around money. Mom's panic. Thank you, Tara. For my first childhood memories, we lived on food stamps in Section 8. I couldn't even get candy. And so we bring that, right? Like, oh, that gives me goosebumps. So what comes up for me, right, is that the incident I told you about the parka, is that we want to avoid that feeling again for ourselves or for our children. That's what our bodies are doing. It's avoiding at all costs feeling that feeling again. And for those on the opposite side, where money, there wasn't a lack, but do you remember feeling the first time being judged about money? Or what did money bring you? Did it bring connection? And that's where your body goes around money. Thank you, Holly, for sharing that. Let's breathe, because this can be a really heavy topic. So if you guys have to bounce, please keep yourself safe. But we are going to take 3 deep breaths. Okay. Thank you guys for calling it out and being aware. So awesome. It is. This is a huge topic, and especially because it connects to so much, right? All right, so we're going to take 3 deep breaths right now. In through your nose, and we're just going to breathe it all out. In this moment, I am mostly safe. In this moment, I am mostly safe. And I say mostly because our bodies are like, well, I don't feel safe. Does this tie into control? Let me try that again. Does this tie into control so we never feel that again? 100%. Now, both can be true at the same time, right? And this is why it feels like it's always maybe at war, is that we do need money on a level to, again, have food and clothing and a shelter. So that is a real need. But also our bodies are avoiding feeling what money meant, or where our body goes around money. Of course, sweetheart, this is it sounds like a simple topic because we talk about money a lot, right? But often we talk about how to manage money, what to do differently, what we're not doing, what we should be doing. And really, those are quite a few steps ahead. Do we ever slow down to recognize what's happening in our body before we even get to that part? Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, put a 1 in the chat so we can welcome you in. Okay, copy. Tara, I see you. Also, we're going to take the shame out of wanting more money, right? There's a lot of shame that we put on ourselves or people put on us, judgment when we want more money. And wanting more money isn't always about being greedy. Okay. I think Just G had mentioned freedom, right? Our body wants room to be, to do things, to expand, to be able to breathe, right? And so that would make so much sense. For some people, they want to make sure that they have a roof over their head, right? That they grew up, maybe that money, and maybe, if I'm not hitting something that is hitting for you, throw it in the chat so we can talk about it, right? Because there's so many different, everybody has a different experience around money. And I want to talk about it. We can definitely talk about it. So one of the things too is that actually, let's stay on the wanting more money, okay? Because I feel like this is kind of a big one too, is that I don't know about for you guys, but even like I grew up religious, and so in the church, it was always too, don't want, right? Just be grateful. Don't want more. That's a sin and that's from Satan. Or even if you didn't grow up in a house that, or religious, it might have been, well, just be grateful, right? So there was no room for how we felt about money as children, right? Because that might have been too much for our parents. To hold our emotions. Like if we felt there was a lack of money or it affected us, like, it really sucks that I don't have new shoes and I'm getting made fun of. Was there space to be held for that? Or was it just be grateful that you have shoes? And, because our parents didn't do that because they didn't care. It's that they were trying to deal with their own shit and they didn't know how to hold their shit and our shit, right? So there was no room to just honor how we felt about money as children. So of course, how would we honor how we feel about money now? We were never taught that. Also too, is the permission to want more than just the minimal, right? And that is real too. For me, one of my goals is to create enough wealth in my life where my husband can stop working. Right? That is something that I desire, and that is okay. A lot of times we don't allow ourselves to dream and to wish. One is that we get pulled back into, well, just be grateful for what you have. Again, both things can be true at the same time. I can be grateful for what I have and also want something in the future. What happens is the disconnect happens if I'm unable to be grateful and in the present, and then resentment and fear and control take over to where it shifts who I am, because now my focus is only on that. Does that make sense? Because we weren't taught how to hold two things at once. Can I get a 1 in the chat if that makes sense? Okay. Yeah. And a lot of times, even if you had money, right? Maybe you wanted more money and being called greedy or stuck up or high maintenance or all of these things, right? So there is a flip side to, and if you grew up that way, please comment in the chat so that we can understand better what happens in your experience, right? And for some people, connections were not safe, but money was safe. And it was predictable, and connections were not predictable. And so some people leaned into that, right? And that they focused more on money versus connections. Some people, connections were more important, but for some people, money was more important. And it holds still to this day, maybe a higher place in their life or even value in their body, not because they don't care, but because that was safe and predictable, and connections were not. I had a conversation with Chris, and we have a very different thought process and nervous system in the way that we respond to things. Love was shown in gifts as a child. Money equals love, equates to love. Yeah. And to that note, a lot of people as children experienced, older generations buying love. If I buy them this, then they won't feel the lack of something else, right? So for a lot of people, money and gifts and things replaced connection. Corey, welcome in everybody. Danielle, welcome in. And so Chris and I were having a conversation, and I don't know, I was probably being like a little facetious, and I was like, would you be sad if I left you? And he was like, yeah, but that wouldn't be the first thing I would think of. I was like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, the first thing I would think of is I would be worried about how I was going to survive. And I was like, that is the first thing that comes up for you, not I want my wife back? And he goes, yeah, that's how I operate. And I was blown away because that's not how my nervous system operates, right? Because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about money. I want you, whether you have money or not. And I want to say this real out loud, okay? That does not mean that one is better than the other. That does not mean that I care more about Chris than he cares about me. That is a misconception. And it actually can be very damaging because that is the thought process I have had in the past. Thank you to Tara. Thank you to Chris for helping me understand different nervous systems and the way that they operate. Yeah, I've been judged for that. And definitely Chris has been judged for that also, right? A lot of people have. And there's a lot of judgment around money. So, right, especially as a mom and a woman, right, Tara? For men, it's more acceptable to place money value over connection, but there's a whole other judgment for women, right? Yeah, like I'm supposed to melt if you leave me, right? And that's exactly how Chris was. And at first, I was butthurt, right? I was like, oh, you wouldn't miss me? Like, well, you just said I don't love you. And he's like, that's not what I said. He said that my body goes to, I need to keep myself safe. And so that's where his nervous system goes first. And where does mine go, right? Is that the connection first is how I stay safe. If there's no connection, then I'm not safe, right? So this is just information for us about what happens to our body. Because especially around money, everything is so fast and it's demanding. So even if this is just the only place that we slow down right now and recognize what's happening to our body, where, now I do just want to say, you don't have to relive your childhood every time something comes up, but it gives you a good idea of why it's happening to you. And so, because when I think the first things in creating a good connection with money is allowing ourselves to feel without judging how we fucking feel, right? Because it can often be, well, I need money. Oh, I should think about connection first. Or I want more money. Oh, I should be grateful first. We skip over the first part. We skip over the first part and we don't honor that, and we move straight into supposed to be. And so what happens is we re-traumatize ourselves, put more pressure, more shame, more guilt each time around this topic. And in some situations, safety and connection are both pulling at the same time. What then? Right? And just recognizing like what's happening, like this feels a lot. And what I also want to provide tonight is permission that you don't need to feel more than one emotion around money. Without judgment, without guilt. And you don't have to solve it. Now, is there a time and a place to solve things around money? Yes. Okay. But are we allowing space? Practice the pause before we make the decisions and get curious about what's happening in the pause. I don't feel guilty about money. I think I should. And so it's confusing sometimes. And this is that flip side, right? So some people care so much about money that they obsess over the future, right? And then some people are like, I'll be taken care of. It's, it's fine. I'll make it work. Neither one of those is bad. It's being able to recognize, to be able to flow, right? To recognize when we tap into, hey, it's time to plan. Hey, it's time to trust. Now that's down the line. That's the work I do with you one-on-one, right? There's steps before you get to that. Because again, Alyssa, hello. Congratulations, Alyssa scheduled her one-on-one in a few months. So awesome. I am really looking forward to connecting with you. But there's space between that and what we do before all of that, and just allowing ourselves to feel. My money is my money, and your money is my money. Entitlement is there. And I'm really looking forward to talking more about this in the Sacred Middle. So if you guys want to dive deeper, talk more about your specific experience with money, grab your seat for the Sacred Middle. There's still some seats left, but the word entitlement, and we could definitely talk about it, but the first thing that comes up for me is that and I don't know if this resonates, you can let me know, but the first thing that comes up is that is how perhaps you have been able to stay safe, is saying, you are going to do this for me, right? And that was probably the example of how you create safety, right? Control is, I'm not going to provide space for you to not keep me safe, so I am going to get it. I don't know if that resonates. I missed it. We are almost done with the Sacred Middle, or with the TikTok live. We are going into the Sacred Middle at 5 p.m. So we have about 10 minutes here, and then we'll go over to the Sacred Middle. Sure, we can dance with words. It's control. Yeah, definitely control. Well, and that control is how you stayed safe, right? Because you couldn't rely on anybody else, so you had to take the matters in your own hands, right? And that was through force. Now so that's one side is through force. The other side was through retreat or getting small. So there's taking control and there's pulling back. There's making ourselves small and making ourselves big. And neither one are bad, okay? We need both of those energies. We just need to learn how to dance with them, as Miss Tara says, the fire beneath the mask. Does anybody have any questions? How did growing up with money shape my entitlement, safety, and what I believed I deserved? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, and let me know if this doesn't hit the mark, because I'm just let me know, is that the control, right? So it was through force that if money was always also given to you, that's all you would have experienced is or taking. If you were if the example was to take by force, or to take, or to manipulate, so that maybe even other people thought that they were giving it, but really it was manipulating it so that you could get it. To me, that is the way that you, like you said, controlled to stay safe, right? Also, I would say that it would be about worth, right? If maybe there's a link to, if you didn't have money, that would made you weak, or unworthy, or less than. If there was certain clothes or an image to uphold, that some people got in trouble, some people got hurt if you didn't perform, if you didn't look a certain way. all of those things. So I don't know if that resonates at all. Always given. So of course, then if it was always given and you never had to worry about it either when you were growing up, it would make sense that why would you as an adult if it was taken care of, right? If you never had to worry about those things because it was provided, then your body said that I don't have to worry about this. I know. Hi, babe. Sorry, my messages were behind. Hi, baby. It is Chris's, Amber. Of everything? Wait, I missed what you said, Mom. Oh. Yeah, that is true too. Babe, I was talking about our conversation around money and how you let me know that your nervous system goes straight to, am I going to have enough money to have a roof over my head, versus the connection portion. And so some people really resonated with that. And their nervous system does the same thing. And we were talking about how that in the past I judged that, like, how could you think about money first? That's fucked up, right? And that somehow that meant that you didn't care about me as much as I cared about you, which is not true. It's just that your nervous system goes to safety first. And for you, safety means money and a house and food. Right. We have about 4 more minutes, you guys, and then we're going to hop over to the Sacred Middle. So if you haven't purchased your seat, please do so that you can come chat with us. It's 2 hours. It's $20 for 2-hour one-on. Basically, it's a small group of women and it's one-on-one coaching. And you get to, we get to talk about your specific things as well. Any questions before we end? I do just want to check in with everybody because I know this topic can be heavy for many reasons. I want to say thank you guys for being here, for honoring yourselves and your body, recognizing what comes up and, saying, hey, this is a lot. I need to take a breather right now. And it's very courageous and vulnerable to take a look at how money affected us, right? In whichever way. And awesome. Next week, we are talking about what happens in the pause. So all of the upcoming sessions for the Sacred Middle and our TikTok live chats are on the site. If you go to my link tree in my bio and you click on the Sacred Middle, you can purchase your ticket and see all of the upcoming topics through April. So they're all there. And next week we are talking about what happens in the pause. We always hear about the pause, practice the pause before you do this, stop, be present. That's the pause. So we're going to talk all about that next week. And if you ever catch this later and you wish that you heard the stuff that we were talking about in the beginning, all the replays are on my YouTube. So that is also in my link tree. You can go check it out. And I believe it says live replays. So you can go check it out there and watch those. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. I am looking forward to next week because I love talking about the pause and all the fun and uncomfortable that comes with the pause. So remember, fuck perfect. And I'll see you next week, guys. And I'll see you ladies in the sacred middle in just a few minutes. Okay, bye.